sprawled out over a portion of the Carbon and Bighorn counties of Montana, and Bighorn County, Wyoming, are the Pryor Mountains. Named after Sergeant Nathaniel Hale Pryor, who accompanied Lewis and Clark on their famous expedition. Located south of Billings, Montana, and north of Lovell, Wyoming. The range rises from the flat prairie land around it, looming like some ancient, inscrutable monolith. Standing 5,000 feet above the surrounding land, it is a place of sweeping vistas, spectacular rugged limestone canyons, subalpine prairie plateaus, and a broad diversity of unique ecosystems. This stunning biodiversity, with over 1,000 species of plants identified, is an oasis among the prairies. Many of the native plants are unique to this one range. The land is sacred to the native Crow Nation, who call the mountains Bapuo Isawaxawua, or hitting rock mountains, as well as arrow shot into rock mountains. There are numerous myths, legends, and stories that the Crow people have told of this majestic land, and one of these is the tale of the mysterious little people said to dwell here. According to Crow legend, the little people, known to them as the Nairambi or Awakule, were unusually small creatures. Standing no more than 18 inches high, with large heads, sharp and pointed teeth. They had pot bellies, incredibly strong but short arms and legs, and little to no neck. Despite their small stature, their physical strength was said to be vast and legendary, with them able to kill a full-grown elk with their bare hands and carry it off slung over their shoulder. Or to be able to tear a horse's heart out, and they were seen as fierce and formidable warriors as well as highly territorial. They were also known as being mischievous troublemakers, stealing children, food, medicine, and tobacco, as well as very vengeful. Seeking to destroy people and their families for the smallest perceived slight. It was likely this fierce reputation that kept other potential enemy tribes at bay, and indeed there are tales of enemy tribes being driven back by the little people. Such as a time when the Cheyenne and Sioux arrived to be driven out by hundreds of little people who carried bows and arrows. However, although the little people were seen as ferocious and somewhat beastly, they were said to have high intelligence. Possessing the ability to fashion stone arrowheads when the Crow could only make ones fashioned of bone. These little people were greatly feared. The Crow, hesitant to venture into their domain, would make offerings to them at Medicine Rocks. Offerings to the Nairambi such as beads, cloth, arrows, knives, or tobacco, were seen as essential to anyone daring to travel through the mountains where they lived. To not do so meant certain injury or death. Offerings could also sometimes convince the Nairambi to give help, such as providing plentiful luck in hunting or fishing. Yet although the Nairambi had this sinister and fearful reputation as brutish, fierce warriors, they were mostly on good terms with the Crow people. It was said that they would impart wisdom, guidance, and knowledge to the Crow, as well as confer blessings or spiritual insight to certain chosen individuals. One such example is Chief Red Plume, who in his childhood, ventured into the domain of the Nairambi. Fasting for 4 days at the top of the Bighorn, he was taken into the mountain by 4 little people. There they told him that his red eagle feather would protect and guide him, and that he would one day become a great leader of the Crow people. Red Plume would nevertheless spend his younger years being relentlessly taunted and bullied for telling others of these predictions. One day he raided an enemy Lakota camp and slaughtered them all. On that day, winning more battles than any warrior, his people realized the prophecy given to him by the Nairambi had been true. Probably the most famous tale of a famous Crow leader encountering the little people was the legendary Crow chief Plenty Coos. After a 4-day fast in a sweat lodge when he was only 9 years old, after which he had rubbed his body with sage and cedar to remove any smell. He then bravely marched right into the Nairambi's territory. There he would claim that he had a vision of the little people, in which they took him into a spiritual realm and told him that he would accomplish many great deeds and one day become the leader of his people. When they sent him back on his way, Plenty Coos felt invigorated and infused with a sense of purpose, later saying, "I had a will and I would use it, make it work for me, as the dwarf chief had advised. I became very happy, lying there looking up into the sky. My heart began to sing like a bird, and I went back to the village, needing no man to tell me the meaning of my dream. I took a sweat bath and rested in my father's lodge. I knew myself now. When he was 11 years old, Plenty Coos would have another vision. On this occasion he spent days walking through the realm of the Nairambi while fasting, but was unsuccessful until he chopped off the tip of his index finger as an offering. Upon doing this, the little people appeared to him, taking him deep under the mountain and telling him that the days of the Plains Indian were ending. That white man would soon cover the land like bison, but that he as a future chief could stop it if he used his wits and developed his mind and listening skills. Just as predicted, Plenty Coos did become a great chief, and when the white man came, the Crow managed to survive through coexistence and negotiation. Plenty Coos was able to guide his people through this tumultuous time. Largely due to his efforts, to this day the Crow Reservation is only a short distance from the Pryor Mountains and Medicine Rocks. This survival in the face of extinction has long been mostly credited to his vision with the little people. There are numerous other tales involving the Nairambi. One of these is the story of a boy who one night fell into a bonfire and horribly burned his face, which earned him the cruel nickname, Burnt Face, among his tribe. One day, Burnt Face went into the realm of the Nairambi, where he built a sun dance lodge, and it is here that the little people approached him. On this occasion they were not aggressive towards this incursion into their territory, but rather took pity on him, healing the scars on his face and imbuing him with healing powers of his own. From then on, the Nairambi were considered to be integral to the Crow practice of the sun dance. In another story, a child was separated and lost in the wilderness, where he was adopted and raised by the little people, absorbing some of their magic in the process. When he was grown, it was said that he possessed superhuman strength and could lift columns of stone. There are many other such stories, yet although this may seem to be all firmly lodged into the realm of myth and legend, the Crow always saw them as very real. There are accounts that seem to hint that the Nairambi might be something more than merely a fairy tale. An account from the Lewis and Clark expedition explains how in 1804 as they traveled to the mountain of the little people they saw devils that carried sharp arrows and could strike from a very long distance, viciously attacking anyone who came near. When the Burlington Railroad decided to build a tunnel for the rail line from Billings to Cody, Wyoming, the little people were blamed on a series of calamities that befell the project. Freak accidents were common. Tunnel collapses, a smallpox outbreak, other various inexplicable mechanical malfunctions. In 1906, a fire burned down 10,000 acres of timber. Started by sparks from a train engine, an engineer on the train claimed that he seen little people fanning the flames and guiding the fire away from the forest and towards the train line. To this day there have been sporadic sightings of creatures similar to the Nairambi in the Pryor Mountains. Accounts from the Crow, hikers, campers, ranch hands, and hunters, making one wonder whether they're fact to the old Crow stories. The Crow have always seen the Nairambi as real, and right up to the present they leave offerings for them. There are petroglyphs on rocks in the mountain that are made by the little people. They continue to be treated with respect by the tribe, often the subject of vision quests or other rituals. A Crow elder, by the name Burden Pretty on Top said this: "We get permission from the little people, from the animals. We get permission from them to come into their home. The vision quest is something very, very important, something very sacred. This place we consider as our church, our sacred place, for prayer. And we hope that our non-Indian brothers and sisters come with the reverence and respect that the Apsaluk have when they come into these mountains. We want to keep the Pryor Mountains sacred and holy so that the next 7 generations can use this in a sacred way. It is all certainly a rich tapestry of lore and wonder that causes one to wonder if perhaps the tales told by the Crow were based in some sort of truth. Were these little people they spoke of ever real in any sort of way? Were they some sort of nature spirits, like fairies, or perhaps a type of undiscovered creature that led to the legends? Could they have been interdimensional interlopers? Or is this all just legend and lore, purely the construct of the human mind? Whatever the case may be, They are just another of the many mysteries that pervade this mysterious mountain domain.